Gentlemen, first of all, how has Aberdeen been treating you? Have you had fun so far?
It's been fantastic. When I first got in on Thursday and immediately took a bus on Friday down to the city center, walked around, had lunch at a pub called Old Blackfriars Pub. Fantastic. And then really almost got blown away. It was very windy and very chilly.
And it's
but
very
beautiful.
brown.
I'm from Chicago, and blown away means something different there. Yeah,
Just to clarify, right?
yeah, I did.
And do you get a chance to actually soak up the culture when you go to Comic Cons and you see different cities? Do you make a point to actually sightsee and get out of the hotel a bit?
Yeah, I do. I really want to see what's around. I'm hoping tomorrow I'm going to try to find a castle because I want to see a Scottish castle before I leave.
Stonehaven. Head south. Yeah. And I'm happily last night discovered flavored gin.
Ooh.
Rhubarb. Who knew? Oh my God. So, yeah. And an Italian restaurant called Poldino's. Fantastic. Yeah. It's lovely.
We love that. And any recommendations you have for the gentlemen, just come to their autograph table and let them know where to go, what to drink. Flavored gin is a great one. Now, we have to talk about Police Academy because we have so many amazing fans here that just adore the films. Can we ask each of you how the role came to you? How you got involved with Police Academy? Cast in the role.
Gee, GW?
Well, I was third or fourth? Third, I think. I was third choice, which is not unusual for me to be second or third or fourth choice. It was first. First, it was a guy named Tim Thomerson. Now, Tim is a good friend of mine, and he's great. He's a wonderful actor. But Tim asked to be released. He was doing a film in I don't know, in Thailand or somewhere, some damn place. But he was doing a film overseas, and he was asking to be released. So next they got Juliet Staddy, Jeffrey Lewis, who is one of Clint Eastwood's part of his company. Eastwood hires him all the time, and he was in a lot of Eastwood films. Has a big sort of rubbery face like this. Yeah, he's very, very funny. He's very funny, and he's a very talented actor. As is his daughter, Juliet Lewis, that many of you will know. Juliet Lewis is his daughter. So those two, and I remember
Why
the third
couldn't
one.
he do it?
I don't know. Turned it down. He was up, but he just walked out. And then it was what's his name? Played in the movie, the bicycle movie with the brothers. They are the brothers. I don't know. Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
They did save the best for last.
Yeah. And so he was up, and it was a question of whether or not he turned it down. And so I was the fourth one. I was in position. I was ready to go, and it was entirely up to the director, and who was the great, now deceased, Hugh Wilson, who did WKRP in Cincinnati, ever from as long as well as other great sitcoms. Anyway, Hugh was he's one of the few guys that ever turned conservative. You know, usually they say you're liberal when you're young and you're conservative when you're old. Well, he got conservative about middle age. He turned into a rabbit. Ooh, rabbit. Like, conservative, right winger, and which was unlike him. So,
Question was, how did you get the role?
oh, that's I forget. Lance reminds me. Thank you.
Yeah. Lance, how did you get yours?
Yeah. So,
He's not done.
no. So he turned it down, and so I came in. They had asked me, and I came in, and my first scene was with you, where we jumped in the jump.
No, not your first scene. You did one. I didn't do one. That was in 3 when we first met. But your
Yeah.
first scene was up the horse's butt or something.
Yeah, that was in number 1.
Yeah.
But number 3, number 4.
Yeah, number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
I did. That was my first scene.
Yeah, when you came back, because
Yeah.
he had other roles in other movies, wasn't available for 2 and 3.
That's
Came
right.
back in 4.
That's right. Came back in 4, and my first scene was with this one. So that's how I started.
Well, now
Read for it.
my character was introduced in Police Academy 2, and I had auditioned for Police Academy 1, and did not get it. I had auditioned for Fackler, and didn't get it, and then so that was that. And then all of a sudden, my agent called and said, they're doing another Police Academy. And I went, really? And went in, and this is when it was relatively rare to be doing sequels, and it was just really a surprise. But Police Academy 1 had been such a success, the Warner Brothers said, we're going to do it again. And I was thrilled I thought that was going to be it,
Thanks. No thanks to Warner Brothers, by the way.
But thinking friends wherever he goes. But again, no one knew there was going to be more than 2. I auditioned for 2 and probably had to go in 3 or 4 times. And finally they called and said, okay, you're Proctor. And so I did that. I didn't have a whole lot to do in 2, got a little more in 3, and then in 4, each one you're going, oh my gosh, they're doing it again and again and again. It was just a thrill. And then in 4, getting a chance to work with GW was just, now you're going, well, now I'm home. This is great. And what he was about to say, the first time we ever met was in Toronto. We were shooting in Toronto, and they drove us out to the bank of a river in 2 different cars. He was driven out, I was driven out. We get out of the car. Hi, this is, they introduced us. This is G.W. Bailey. This is Lance Kinsey. How you doing? And they threw us in the river. And we're clinging onto a gondola that I had shot out of the sky. We hadn't done that scene yet. It was just us rushing down the river, hanging onto this gondola with 3 stuntmen in the river ahead of us before we would go over the falls to grab us. And we were hanging on for dear life. There was no acting involved. And you bond very quickly when that happens. And we've been close ever since.
I joined in Police Academy 2. Lance and I both worked at a theater in Chicago called The Second City, where pretty much half of the people from Saturday Night Live came out of this one theater in Chicago. And so I had done like 4 seasons of years 6, 7, 8, 9 of Saturday Night Live. Next year is the 50th anniversary, so that's how long I've been around. I got married after that season. I was on honeymoon in Greece, at the island of Hydra, and I get a call that these 2 writers that I'd worked with for 4 years at Saturday Night Live had written Police Academy 2, and they asked if I could do a day for the scene under the credits. I'm like, beautiful, I'm there. So I go in, I shoot, I play the lamp store owner, and I shoot this sequence, and the director gets fired. And then Jerry Paris, the new director, comes in and says, the little busy, the bloke, under the lamp store, like him, he said, well, he's just, he's done. I said, keep him around. So 6 weeks later, I'm still there, and going to work every day, and the director says, oh, we're in a supermarket today. What do you and Bob want to do? And Bobcat, the first time I met Zed, is, he says, by the way, I'm gonna spray mace into my mouth and kiss you. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Love it. Yeah.
Well, it was fake mace. But anyway, I got to stick around and then got to do 2 more with my buddy from Second City, Lance, and we just had the greatest time. And every time they called up and said, we're doing another one, I'm like, woo, another paid vacation. It was just so much fun.
Yeah. That. You know, I have to ask, as a big Saturday Night Live fan myself, do you guys still watch it, or did you watch it over the years, Saturday Night Live?
Yes. Yes.
Any favorites that stick out to you? Any actors?
Oh my
that you
God. Yeah. Well, Tina Fey, who I think is probably, I think Lorne Michaels is going to retire after this season, and I think he should give it to Tina Fey to run, because she did a great job with 30 Rock.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
great.
brilliant. Yeah.
Any favorites for you, Lance, or GW? Any SNL favorites? Or favorite comedians, really?
Tim Kazurinsky was my favorite.
Good answer.
No, well, when we were at Second City, I actually understudied Tim, and when Tim was called up to go to Saturday Night Live is when I moved in to the resident company. So I was watching him. Another member of our company, my company, went in. Mary Gross went in with him, and so I was watching buddies on Saturday Night Live. But as far as favorites go, the original cast to me of Danny Aykroyd and John Belushi and Billy Murray, Gilda Radner, I mean, they were who were all Second City people. We watched them, and they were just our heroes.
Oh God, yeah, amazing. The first 5 years, still the best. Yeah.
Oh, special. So cool, we can actually watch them on reruns now, and people can go back and see. Well, I could just sit up here and fangirl, but this is Monopoly Events, and we are by the fans, for the fans, so let's take it to you guys. Who has a question? Just raise your hand. We've got Graham at the top there.
And no questions about Chicago.
No. That is...
And Second City. I can throw up.
Got a question up here on the left.
Hi, I'm Matt. It was great meeting the 3 of you guys yesterday. Just curious, if they ever did a remake of Police Academy, is there any particular actor you'd want to play your characters?
How about us?
Wait, you think... Oh, I think...
What's that? How about us?
Yeah, I'm by far the oldest up here. And I'm not too old to play Captain Harris. I mean, they come to us with these ideas. Paul does. Paul Mislansky, the exec producer. And Paul comes with these ideas, and it's always younger kids playing us, and we're older, and we do a cameo or something. And I tell him, I said, when you have a decent script, then let me know. I said, I'm not interested in this. This is baloney. It's baloney. It's Chicago. It's Second City, Quinn. You wanna, yeah. You wanna play it yourself. You created it. You wanna do it.
None of that Chicago baloney in here. It's hilarious. Well, what do you think, Aberdeen? A reboot starring these three? What do you think? We want to see it? Yes.
We're not here in Aberdeen.
How about you're in Aberdeen? They'd be happy to have you, I'm sure. Any other questions? Just raise your hand. Rebel?
Hello? Hi. So what's your favorite part about Chicago? No, in all seriousness, what was your favorite movie of the Police Academy ones to actually film?
I think I had number 3 for me. I had the most fun on 3. Yes, it was a lot of, a lot of madness and jet skis, and it was just. And we also shot these at a former mental insane asylum in Toronto, and there were like slabs down in the basement where I'm sure they did lobotomies, and so all of this madness is going on outside. But it was just, it was a nut house where we shot.
For me, it was 5, and I got some questions about this yesterday. I mean, I just love shooting 5 because it was a very personal reason. My wife's mother, my mother-in-law, lived in Fort Lauderdale, and it was shot in Miami. So I got to bring my wife and my son, who was 1 at that time, down, and they hung out with us on the set the whole time. As a matter of fact, there's a scene at the Fontainebleau Hotel in the pool, and my wife and son are bobbing in the pool. Well, I said, get in the pool, and I can see my son's little head back there bobbing around. So it was all very special. I really loved it, and we had some great gags in Police Academy 5 too. What was your fit?
Oh, my favorite by far was number 5 and number 1. Number 1, I thought had a special quality to it, and it just, it fell apart at the end. But up until then, it was a good film. It was a silly, good film. And number 5 was from the beginning. I mean, there was silliness, and it was wonderful.
Great question. Got a question from the gentleman up at the top on the right.
Good morning, gentlemen. Great to see you in Aberdeen. Hello. Just wanted to ask you a question about one of my childhood heroes, being told myself, Lieutenant Hightower, Bubba Smith. Any memories of working with him?
Yeah, of course, I knew Bubba. Well, I didn't know Bubba. Bubba and I were from the same part of the country. We were born and raised 15 miles apart. And he used to call me old boy. And Bubba was, what shall we say? Bubba ate differently than I did, obviously. Bubba grew up to be a big fella, big boy. He was a big guy. And Bubba was a gentle giant. He really was. As a matter of fact, they had where he went to college, Michigan State, I think. He was everybody's all-American there. And he was, they had to get him up to go out and do what he did. And he would take people's heads off. He would just go crazy. But the audience would have to go, kill Bubba, kill Bubba, kill, in order to get to him, in order to get to his brain. And he never hurt anybody. He never would hurt anybody. And when I first saw him on the set, I told a terrible racist joke. Racist. I think it's funny, but it was terrible. And somebody said, "Oh, shit, can you believe it, Bubba?" And they said that to Bubba Smith. I said, "Bubba is the least likely to take my head off. He's the sweetest guy in the world." And he was sweet. I've got to tell the story about Bubba.
I am very personally indebted to Bubba because he gave me my name.
Kazurinsky?
No, the other one. Not that. Paula gave me that name. The lamp store was named after the art director who desperately wanted his name in the movie. It was Suchak. And I smashed through the lamp store window and I'm laying in broken glass. Bubba comes along and picks me up by the belt and is carrying me horizontally. And he says, "Are you okay, Mr. Sweet Chef?" And the director says, "Cut, cut, cut." It says, "Bubba, it's Suchak. See the sign? Suchak. That's the art director. He wants his name in the movie." So Bubba does the second take and he says, "Are you okay, Mr. Sweet Chef?" And it, cut, cut, cut. "Bubba, it's Suchak. It's Suchak." Okay, take number 7. Bubba picks me up by the butt and goes, "Are you okay, Mr. Sweet Chuck?" And the director goes, "Cut, print, fuck it, he's Sweet Chuck from now on."
For me, Bubba became a very good, just close personal friend. In LA, I know it's easy to believe, we worked out at the same gym. And he actually taught me the routine I still used, you could tell. And it was really all about maintenance now. I don't want to get too big. But he would tell me that he, in college, he was so freaking strong and big, he never lifted weights. This was natural. Now he was in the gym later, and he was lifting to maintain everything. But he said then it was just about going out on the field and whoever was the strongest dominating. So I am in the gym working on little, what are the machines called? Whatever the machines are. And he goes walking by, and I'm grunting and groaning, and he goes, "Lance, you just blowing smoke." And I went, "What?" And he goes, "You have to lift, a dumbbell or something." So anyway, he got me off the machines and just doing, again, as you could tell, massive amounts of weight. I mean, he was unbelievable. He was just the greatest guy. And GW is exactly right. The sweetest man. So, just the nicest man ever.
And also, if you ever would see Bubba running in a police academy movie, that is a stand-in because, as Bubba said, I donated my knees to the NFL.
Thank you. That's a great question. We've got a question here on the right.
Hi, my name is Shield. My question for you guys is, what film did you find most difficult to make, and what scene was it?
They were all fun. They were all fun. I can't think of one that was difficult. No, they weren't difficult at all. Working with Leslie was difficult. Because the blonde and with the top-tops is always difficult. Working with Leslie was difficult. But
in a police academy, there was 2. I had to wear a cast with a broken arm and end up getting chased down an alley by a bunch of thugs, and I duck into the Blue Oyster bar, and some big buff guy starts doing the tango with me. But it was a real cast, and when it came time to remove it, there was a couple of the Persian doctors that they'd hired for $1.95, and so with a Dremel drill bit, they sliced down the cast to remove it, and they went about 1/8 of an inch too deep, and they took the cast up, and I had been cut with the saw, had cut my arm. It was about a 6-inch bleeding gash in my arm, and they were like, "Oh, please do not tell the producers," because I'm like, so I'm trying to hide my injury from the producers so that the doctors don't get in trouble. So that was my only problem.
And, I'm with GW. I think they were all really fun to do. I used to say, since we would do one each year, we did one about the same time each year. It was like going to camp, and we would be reunited with the same campers. Sometimes we'd have different counselors, there'd be a different director, but it was really coming back to the same unit, and we got to be very close, and we had a chance to look forward to seeing each other once a year. A lot of times in a different location.
We really enjoyed each other. We really did.
Except for Leslie.
Except for Leslie. And the other problem, if there had been a problem, it was between Bobcat and Steve Gutenberg. Bobcat disliked Mahoney tremendously, and he would how do we put this nicely? He would
Prank him.
He would
It's nice way to say.
crank him.
Fight him. Didn't do a fight.
Crank him.
Practical joke.
Just a practical joke.
Practical joke.
Well, he would do a practical joke. And he would leave a dump in the bathroom. And he would sneak in there when Steve was on set, and he would leave a load. And he would say, "Oh, the Teamsters got in there. The Teamsters got in there." Well, it was good. It was Bobcat. It was Bobcat. And we always got a big kick out of it. Bobcat going in there, doing his due. And Bobcat didn't like Sting. And all.
We appreciate that Comic-Con exclusive story right there. We like that. That's a good one. We've got a question. Yes, that deserves a round of applause. I told you we're starting out with the big guns today. I love it. We've got a question up here on the right, all the way at the top.
Hi there, guys. Pleasure to meet you all yesterday. I'm just curious, all through the Police Academy series, Michael Winslow would always use his particular voice talents to put Harrison Proctor in some sort of position during the movies, but they never do anything to his offset in the practical joke kind of way.
No, the only thing that Michael ever did that irritated the hell out of me was ordering, you could ask for something like salt at the table, and he would have a routine.
Ask the salt.
It would be a helicopter salt. And he would dump it on the set. He was gone.
Yeah. Well, it particularly enraged Bobcat, who, at lunch, when Michael Winslow would come to the table, he said, "And can I sit with you guys?" And Bobcat would go, "No." And he said, "Oh, please." He said, and Bob would go, "Okay, on the one proviso, no helicopters, no ambulances, no aliens, no machine guns." Because he couldn't stop. It was brilliant, but there was no off switch.
Which is why he was really so good. He did it all the time. And one time I remember I was going, I think it was in the insane asylum. I was going upstairs, and he was in the stairwell facing the wall in a corner, and I'm coming by him, and I go, "Hey, Michael," and he doesn't really hear me or know I'm there. He's just talking to himself to the corner of a wall, practicing, and I'm going, "Well, that's how you get so good. You're nuts."
That's the secret. We've got a question here on the left, right over here.
Hi there. I'm going to be greedy and ask two questions if that's all right. The first one's to GW, big fan. I just wondered, what's your fondest memory of working on the short circuit and set? Is there something that kind of springs to your mind that's really kind of you can remember from that time? And the second one's for Tim. Big Saturday Night Live fan, and I grew up watching a lot of the comedians, and I know that you're famed for your impressions, so I'm wondering if you might give us a bit of a demonstration.
The thing I remember most about Short Circuit was the fact that John Badham wanted to fire me. He thought I was terrible. Yeah. And he had cast me. And he loved me. And then he hated me. How could he hate me? Free me.
I can't imagine.
Paid me, but he did. And he talked about firing me, but he couldn't. The studio wouldn't let him. It took too much trouble to get me. And it was a fight with Lansky over who got me. And yeah, he was a tough guy. He is a tough guy. Anyway, so that was my fondest, my longest memory of Short Circuit.
For me, I'm trying to think of impressions I did. At some point, I played Hitler, Menachem Begin, but probably my favorite thing to do was I used to play a bald-headed Indian guru called Having a Good Time Vishnu Ver here, and he would answer. I would sit on the desk of the Weekend Update, and people would mail in these questions, great unanswered questions of the universe. And at the time I used an Indian accent, and Apu got in trouble on The Simpsons. He got into trouble for whatever, for Apu, for racism. But luckily, I kind of slid by because I was sort of a gentle, sort of Mahatma Gandhi type of guy who would ask these unanswered questions like, why is it that tornadoes only touch down at trailer parks? And people would send these questions in, like sort of like, why do we, after we go to the bathroom, do we always look? And I would say, this is because we want to know how fast corn travels through the body. So that was my favorite thing to do.
Bravo. Got a question right over here on the right.
Hi guys, I've just recently rewatched them all, actually, and the amount of scenes, one-lines that I forgot, actually came back to me as soon as I started watching them. Is there a particular one scene, one line that you just absolutely loved the most when you were doing them?
I what? Oh yeah, I had one with Lance that he played with my perpetual motion machine, and I told him, I said, "Get your hands off my balls." I love that line. I love that line because back in hometown and Warner Brothers, they had no idea what it meant. They had lost their package years ago. Their wives had sold them out, or somebody had sold them out, but they didn't have any, and so it got by. The balls still got by. I love that line.
Yeah, I was just reminded of this yesterday by at my table. Graham actually pulled it up on his phone. I'd forgotten when we go into the Blue Oyster, and I've taken GW there, thinking I'm going to show him a great restaurant or something. And we get in the Blue Oyster, we're looking around, and it becomes apparent that it's not what it's appeared to be. And he goes, "Proctor, where have you brought me?" And I look up and I just see Blue Oyster Bar in neon, and I say, maybe they have seafood? That was I don't remember a lot of lines like that, but that was a good one.
I think there was a point where there's some in 3 or 4. There's a guy, and I put my pistol around from the front of a tree, and the guy drops the head, and I come out under the gun, and the guys, and I'm like, "Go ahead, make my day, punk."
We have time for just one final question. It's going to be up here on the right.
Hi. Obviously, I asked about Bubba Smith before, but any memories of working with the late great David Graf, Tackleberry?
Well, yeah. Oh yeah. I think when he in was one scene when we were going into the building, and I run through a revolving door, and he had suggested that I go all the way through the revolving door and come back out on the street. He goes, "What a laughing!" But yeah, he was Mr. Guns and Ammo. But David passed away way too early. Was it? I think 2006. Yeah, just as his career was taking off.
Yeah, he was 50. He was 50 years old. He was one year shy of the same illness that his father died of, and his father died of the same heart condition that David died of, and he did not have a cardiologist. He had no cardiologist. His wife later wrote a play, angry play, about this very thing, that he left her with 2 boys, and he never got a cardiologist, never got any help.
I see my cardiologist every week.
No, it was tragic because he was actually at his wife's sister's wedding at the reception, and he collapsed on the dance floor, and that was it. And you would think with that history he would have been checking.
Yeah, he died before he hit the floor. Died as he fell, and they told us that he died before he hit the floor. Now I have to tell you, David was a very unpleasant fellow. He was an unpleasant fellow, and now there's no way to put it there. What's the use of that? But David was a how shall we put it? He was an unpleasant fellow. It's the only way to put it. He was. He could be. He could be. Oh, he could be the life of the party. He could. But he wasn't very often.
We have another question.
Let's do one final question. Yes, I have to say, whenever you say, "How do I put this?" I go, "Uh-oh. Hang on."
You and me both, sister.
Let's do one. We've got time for one final question. No pressure. Let's make it fun. Who has a question? Raise your hand. Oh, we've got some all the way down here. Graham's going to get his steps in today. If we can make them kind of quick, we can do both of these. If you don't mind, guys. Thank you so much. And we got to let them get back to the autograph area and the photo ops to meet and greet all of you lovely people. Yes, thank you.
Do you guys have any insight as to why the comedies of the 80s still last and have leaning today?
Well, I think GW and I have talked about this before, but I think Police Academy, in my mind, was so successful around the world, really, because it had so much physical comedy. And that's something in any language you don't need to translate. If it's funny, it's funny. A pratfall's a pratfall. Physical comedy, if it makes you laugh, it makes you laugh in any language. And I think that was one of the strengths of it.
I totally agree, and I'm still shocked that there has not been other gang comedies like that, and particularly the physical comedy. We were talking the other day about the show Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, and Michael Crawford's physical comedy was unmatched, and everybody knows him as the serious phantom guy, but his physical comedy was some of the best I've ever seen in my life. It was fantastic. Yeah.
David Stiers was like that. David Stiers could play anything. He was a master at turn of the century, 19th century, 18th century comedy. He was a master of it. He could make that stuff funny. Just himself, just stuff he would do. He was just funny. It was funny. I don't know what I ended with it, but question.
Got a question right here. This is our final one right here. Great question, by the way. Great.
Thanks, guys. Which of your fellow actors would crack you up the most on set?
George Gaines was so dry that when he did the stuff offset, just hanging around, he used to destroy me. As Commandant Lassard, he seemed just off camera to me wickedly funny. Yeah.
You're easily destroyed. Destroyed.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I had the great good fortune of working with this guy, very closely for four movies, I think, and I look forward to it every day. He made me giggle. A lot of the stuff that made me laugh the hardest was never recorded and should never be recorded. But I had the most fun working with this guy ever. And that's it.
Well, I worked with Lance. Lance is my favorite, of course. He's my boy.
He has to say that now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's my favorite. But George Gaines ran up a close second. There's no question about it. George was witty, was charming. His sister, he sent her off to Europe. And she said, you wouldn't believe the people they let slide. You wouldn't believe it. And what she was referring to is first class. Of course, they sit with their feet up on the heater, up on the wall, etc. And she was aghast at that. She was aghast. And he was aghast. He was aghast. That's all I can tell you. He was funny. He was funny. He was a blowhard, but he was funny.
I remember him on set one time, we were sitting around, and he had a writing prop under his arm, and as he walked by the director's chair, he just walked by and with the writing prop, and he slapped it down on the seat, and he goes, hasn't a clue.
My goodness, you guys, we could talk to you all day, but we know we've got to get you back to the autograph area to meet all of your adoring fans here in Aberdeen. Let's hear it for them, guys. Yay. Your Police Academy panel, I knew that would be hysterical. Thank you for your amazing questions. Keep the applause going, please, for Tim, GW, and Lance, your Police Academy panel.